Descent into Darkness, the last flight of Flight 705, May the 1965, Karachi, Pakistan. Twilight descended on the tarmac of Karachi Airport as families gathered to say their goodbyes. Among them were students heading to Europe, pilgrims returning home, expatriates visiting family, and seasoned crew members of Pakistan International Airlines. The Boeing 720-40B, gleaming under the floodlights, stood tall, its fuselage stamped with the green and white of a young nation's pride. Flight 705 was ready for its multi-stop journey, Karachi to Dhahran, then Cairo, Geneva, and finally London. The aircraft had been in service for only a few years and was considered one of the most advanced in PIA's fleet. On board were 127 souls, 114 passengers, and 13 crew members. In the cockpit sat Captain Tariq Mahmood, a highly respected pilot with over a decade of experience, his co-pilot first officer, Shafiq Ali. And the rest of the crew were equally professional, familiar with the route and confident in their aircraft. By 10:30 p.m., the aircraft lifted off into the dark skies of the Arabian Night, May the 20th, 1965, approaching Cairo, after a brief stop in Dhahran to refuel and pick up more passengers. Flight 705 continued its journey across the Middle East. As the plane crossed over the Sinai Peninsula, the early morning darkness still cloaked the Egyptian landscape. The time was just past 4 a.m. when the Cairo air traffic controllers began communicating with the flight. AIDA's runway 34 was active. Weather was clear but hazy, with limited visibility close to the ground. Instrument approaches were required, and pilots needed to rely heavily on navigation aids to guide the aircraft safely in. But the Boeing 720 was not equipped with a full instrument landing system, and the crew would have to depend on non-precision beacons to descend and line up visually with the runway, a difficult task under such low visibility conditions. Final descent. Flight 705, you are cleared to descend to 4,000 feet. Expect approach runway 34, came the instruction from Cairo approach control. Captain Mahmood acknowledged. The aircraft began its slow descent over the outskirts of Cairo, passing over sleepy villages and the ancient sands that bordered the city. But something was amiss. The altimeter showed they were descending steadily, but their position relative to the airport may not have been what the crew believed. Whether due to navigation misinterpretation, fatigue, or instrument misreading, they descended too early, far below the glide path. The Boeing 720, still under control, was heading directly into the desert terrain. At approximately 4:15 am, Flight 705 struck the ground 5.5 kilometers short of the runway, near a village called Kafism. The aircraft's nose plowed into the sand, and the fuselage broke apart instantly. Flames erupted across the wreckage, consuming what remained of the once proud airliner. The aftermath, villagers nearby rushed toward the glow on the horizon. Fire services, alerted by the tower, scrambled to reach the site. By the time rescue crews arrived, the aircraft was an inferno of metal and silence. Of the 127 aboard, only 3 survived, pulled from the wreckage, burned and injured but alive. The rest perished almost instantly in the impact or subsequent fire. Among the dead were scholars, business travelers, children, and some of PIA's most experienced crew. One of Pakistan's respected journalists was also on board, traveling to London for a speaking engagement. The crash shook the aviation world. Investigators from Egypt and Pakistan worked together to understand what went wrong. Their findings pointed to pilot error, misinterpretation of position, and possible reliance on limited navigation aids during a complex nighttime descent. Legacy. Flight 705 became a lesson, written in blood. In the aftermath, PIA re-examined its approach procedures and training protocols, particularly for non-equipped airfields. The crash prompted broader international discussion on navigation technology, fatigue, and the hazards of night approaches in difficult terrain. In Pakistan, the nation mourned. Newspapers carried photos of the destroyed jet and stories of the lives lost. A monument was never built, but in the memories of the aviation community and the families affected, Flight 705 lives on. It was a flight meant to bridge cities and lives. Instead, it ended in silence beneath a desert sky, a quiet reminder of how precision, vigilance, and human factors shape every moment in aviation.